In this video, we're going to be going through a personal branding 20-step free webinar, whatever you want to call it, masterclass. And so what I have done is actually put together a personal branding presentation. And I want you all to be thinking throughout this whole process, any questions that you have, so you can drop them down in the comments. We can make future videos on them. But I think the steps in this will be helpful for really anyone trying to grow a personal brand. So what I want to go over first is the itinerary. So you're going to see 3 different sections throughout this class. One is develop. We have 7 steps in there. We have one on design. And then the last one, which is network. Now, remember, this is about building your personal brand. You're not going to go 0 to 100 immediately. This is not going to be a one-day process. You're not going to watch this and by the end of it, tomorrow, do all of them at once. So keep that in mind. These are sectioned out for a reason. Section 1 is on the developing, the more I call it back end or logistical tasks. Section 2 is design. So we're going to be doing a lot of visual and creative things to enhance your personal brand. And then 3 is what everybody wants to know, how to get work, whether that's freelance clients, commissions. Before we get started here, I really want to say this. This is a way. It is not the way. So this is one way to think about personal branding. Perhaps your process is going to look different from mine than it is to someone else's, than it is to someone else's down the road or in another state or in another country. So to how it will look from you to me, and again, everyone else, this list of steps is just kind of based on what we believe is most relevant to someone getting started, keyword getting started. And I might even extend that to have gotten started, but not entirely sure how to scale or grow. This is going to change over time. I wrote things may change over time. They're definitely going to change over time because we're talking about a personal brand here. We're not talking about creating a studio. We're not talking about creating a company. We're talking about a personal brand, and it's going to grow like you're going to grow. If you need to take a second, real quick, pause this, go grab a cup of coffee, tea, notebook, whatever you need to do. Now will be the time because we're getting into section 1 here, which is develop. Now, every one of these slides is going to have this kind of theme where we're going to talk a little bit about what the step is. We're going to talk about why it's important, and then practical steps. So every single section, I've tried to do it, the rule of 3s. Everybody likes 3s. We're going to talk about the step and define it, why it's important. Lastly, practical steps. So you're always going to have those practical steps. All right. So the first one is define your brand identity. Strong personal brands begin obviously with clarity. They revolve around you and your personality. So you really have to ask, not on a super existential level, maybe, who are you? But I think some of the more important questions to ask in addition is, what are the things that you stand for? A great question is, how do you want others to experience you and your products or your services or whatever? I think a good way to think about this is choosing 3 to 5 key values. Any more, you're probably going to stress yourself out, and they're just become harder to define as you add more. And later, we're going to talk about what a brand statement is for you personally. But you can already think of these fitting the terms into one phrase, right? So you're going to have 3 to 5 key values. You're going to probably define them and obviously have some rationale as to why that they are important to you. And then you can think about how they fit into a phrase or a statement. The goal here is to be authentic. We're not trying to be crazy, innovative, and try to create something brand new. Just be authentic, be genuine, pick things that are true. For me personally, my design style and approach is very old school. It's what I would call vintage or traditional. I do a lot of analog stuff for me personally. So my actual personality, though, is pretty much rooted in being an old soul. I'm told that a lot. I like to go home at a reasonable time. I like to get in bed by 10 p.m., things like that. So key values and words for me are like timelessness, handcrafted, heritage, maybe by the book would be another one. If I'm being a Debbie Downer or something, but that's kind of me. And that is what I've grown into over time. I didn't know that right out of the gate. I kind of had to experiment with some stuff. So why does this matter? They're going to act as your pathway, your guide towards decision-making, from how you talk about yourselves in your caption for social media or the kinds of projects that you're going to take on. This is an important point right here, the kinds of projects you take on, because when you're starting out, especially as a creative, and I'm talking specifically to you, designer, artist, you will be tempted to just take whatever to get money. And that's just probably not a great idea. Now, I'm not saying don't make money. If you need to make money, make it. But you want to be looking for projects that are specific to your style and what you care about. If you take on any and everything, you're not going to be able to find those that are true to you. So a good rule to have in your mind is to go ahead and accept that you will not accept every single project that you're offered. I want you to just make that a statement, maybe make it a core value if you want. If it doesn't fit with your values, if it doesn't fit with your aesthetic, your personality, who you are, it's probably not a good fit. You're not a good fit for them. They're not a good fit for you. The work just won't be very good. So this is extremely important to understand really early on in this personal branding growth and development. This also helps you in consistency by having these values or these keywords in your mind, in a data bank, always ready. You're going to naturally convey a message about who you are that aligns with everything across everywhere. So let's think about some practical steps. So I think an easy first step is to make a short list of personality traits or your professional strengths. Professional strengths is kind of a strange phrase. That would just be more of what you're doing hands-on in terms of work. Personality traits is maybe even easier for you to do, but you want to eventually kind of attach those to like what you're good at. Professional strengths just kind of means what you're good at. So if you're stuck, think about things that like the compliments that you hear from people. This is another big issue that creatives have, by the way, receiving compliments. So reach back into those areas of your mind where compliments were just like shoved off and bring them back out and list them out. So pick the 3 to 5 after you have that list that most are relevant to you, and then decide on the few that reflect the image you want it to project. Then after that, you're going to weave those words into perhaps your website copy as you start making that, your social media bio, email signature, flyers, handouts, a pitch deck or something like that. Over time, notice if they still resonate, if they still are true, and if you need to tweak them. This is what I said from the very beginning. This is going to change over time because you grow, you get older, you will move, maybe you will find new interest in music and food and even design style. So think about whether or not it is still relevant to you. Remember, it's okay if the words you use, I just said this, morph over time. You can grow, your business is going to grow. Generally speaking, though, your core values, those are the things that you believe in and find important to you. I think those will stay the same most often. I'm not saying that they can't change, but if we're talking about for your personal brand in terms of business, they're probably not going to change too much. When these values feel right, they become the basis for everything you're going to do. So you need to really give this step one a lot of attention here. Number 2 is going to be specializing in skills. So again, we're still in the back end of things, right? We're developing, we're in the back end. So you're going to want to specialize your skill. Now, I know everybody hears the word niche, and gurus are saying you got to niche down or you got to pick a specific niche, or another way to think about it is target audience. And I think that to a degree, it is good advice. It's tempting to offer everything under the sun as a designer or a creator. The truth is, though, that specializing, at least at first, that's why I throw that at least at first, I throw that in there as a caveat, can help you hone your craft down. It helps you offer the best experience, in my personal experience, to your customers. If you're particularly skilled in illustration or type design or UX and web design, make that super clear. Don't immediately come out of the gate and say, I specialize in social media marketing and UX design and stationery design and typography layout and font design. Like, don't, it's first of all, you're too wide reaching, and now you're competing with everyone else that does that on that scale and individual scale. So already your competition spectrum is too large. So we're not suggesting that you can't offer multiple services or styles or cater to different niches, but more often than not, your passion, your personality traits is what you're going to be best at. So your vibe attracts your tribe. That's another really good way to think about it. The reason you should seek this specialization, this narrowing, this niching down, is to become a go-to person, the authority. Think about it like that. When someone writes a book, they become an author. That just means they are an authority in that space on that topic, right? So you want to be an author of your specific niche or service. If a client needs amazing typography, they'll think of you because that's your hallmark and your layouts are beautiful and amazing. Additionally, the more you niche down, the easier it is to offer highly targeted workshops, by the way, courses or webinars. Now, that's a little caveat. That's a little extra for you after you're established, because as you're really getting good at the one niche and doing it really well, then you then become the go-to authority, not only for getting work, but helping and training others. So I do think that's a thing you should be thinking about and factoring in the future. Now, you're going to hesitate. I would say it says you may. I think you're going to probably hesitate to commit to a niche because you're going to worry it's limiting you. I don't think it will. Once you are recognized in a certain niche, you can still expand and or shift or add focus when the time is right. That phrase is also important. It's common for specialists to master one area and then later say, pretty much a baller at this, so now I'm going to explore this, develop this, and then I'll become a secondary master in this. Or you can hire others that are specialists in that and then grow something like a studio or a company, depending on what your work is. So let's talk about some practical steps here. If you identify your niche, then you can reflect on what you love doing most and where you see the best outcome for clients. Now, you can think about things like design style, preferences, workflow, work ethic, all those things. After that, you can take advanced courses perhaps or attend specialized workshops in that area. I'm not suggesting that if you're watching this, you're not already skilled. I'm sure you are, but even I purchase several courses a year to get better in something in my artistic niche or design style. So Teachable is great. Udemy is good. You can even do a self-hosted course on Squarespace or something like that. Or a lot of people are using Kajabi. It's really good. Skillshare is also fine. There's a bunch of different learning course structures you can go and take and or check out a lot of our masterclasses here on the Kittl YouTube channel. We have tons on design principles and everything under the sun from typographic layout to color. So you can check those out as well. Number 3 then would be to expand your reach. You can offer your own free mini tutorials. Now, this is after you know what you're doing. Now, you can offer behind the scenes approaches and looks at your process for your work. This is going to help you expand your reach, solidify your topic authority, and build a ton of credibility. My hot chocolate is here. So if you need to take a second, thank you very much, Graham. If you need to take a second, pause the video, grab your own self another cup of coffee or tea. I know we've only been in it for a little bit, but you need to go ahead and get hyped up because we got a lot more to go. All right, so the goal here is to take it one step at a time. A lot of you need to hear that because you all get distracted and shiny object syndrome. I know because I do it too. A lot of us here do. And it's this impulse to try to do everything, especially at once, or to dive into a bunch of different projects. So you're going to do something like start building a website and then go open an Instagram and a TikTok and a YouTube channel. And then you're also going to be taking courses on typography and color. And then also you're going to be trying to learn Figma. And then it's like you're overwhelmed. Everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. 12 of those are not usually working. So if you think about the 12 that are working, then that's really all you have to use while you're doing this. So you need to make the most use of your time. And that is taking it one step at a time. All right, number 3, we talked about core values. We talked about personality traits. We talked about core strengths. Now it's time to create a brand statement. So we've gone from identifying core values and our brand values to now it's time to make that statement. And this is important at this stage because we already know exactly what we're going to be offering in terms of, niche, which again, it's not a bad word. So a personal brand statement, and remember, we're talking about personal brand. We're not talking about companies right now. Similar to a mission statement is a very concise way to communicate who you are, what you do, and why it matters. If you can hit all 3 of those in the same statement, oh my gosh, good for you. It's essentially a sentence would be good, or that's why I put or a short paragraph. Conveying your professional identity gives potential clients or your collaborators, another key point, a very quick snapshot of what sets you apart. So think of this as the quick elevator pitch, something you can use on your website, your LinkedIn profile, or even networking events. Now, That's going to probably change. Just like I mentioned, all of the previous stuff is going to ebb and flow and grow. This will probably flow and ebb and change as well. I've changed my slogan or what I'm about several times. It's different, and it's a little bit different on my website actually than it is on my social profile, just depending on character limit and sentence structure. But it is a key way to help you stand out. It helps you show off your strengths. It positions you as an expert, right? I said author, so you're going to be an authority in this space. Now, I've never really liked the elevator pitch method because, in my personal opinion, if someone's like, "Oh, well, give me your like elevator pitch real quick," so I can know whether or not like you're for me or not, I'll just stop you right there and say I'm not for you. I need much more time than that. I want to get to know you. I want to make sure that we're going to work well together. One of my core values is timelessness, so I'm not going to be able to give you exactly what you want in 9 seconds. If that's you, you can feel free to use words like that. However, I can still give a one-liner like I have on my website or my Instagram. So it's not a bad thing to have. But what we're talking about right here is not actually creating an elevator pitch. We're actually talking about making the brand statement that's going to be part of your North Star. It's going to be part of your guide. In the online world, which inevitably we are in, we cannot escape it. It is always full of noise. So we do need a quick and concise summary that can hook our audience. But notice I put the right audience. So you want to make sure it's super clear, super impactful, and it's true to you. Again, don't try to do something disingenuous. This is where copywriters are really, really good. Some of the best copywriters can do this in and out amazingly. So they present themselves through strategic word choices. They can figure out how you can, you want to figure out how you can also integrate your personality into your writing, another thing copywriters are good at. So this will not only influence your core headlines, your taglines, body copy, service structure, descriptions, product descriptions. Try to figure out how to embed your personality, your personal brand statement into everything. So let's talk about some practical steps. I got 3 for you. Brainstorm. You're going to write down the key elements. What is your role? What is your niche or specialty? And the value. Role, specialty, value. You can craft this in several sections, right? 1, 2, 3, and then put it together. Then you can massage it, refine it, aim for 1 or 2 sentences, keep it super direct, personable, reflect your brand voice. And then you want to start implementing it everywhere that you're online and or through stationery, if that's kind of what you do. So you can use it everywhere. Place it in your LinkedIn, place it in your Instagram, your website, your TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is. Continuity helps people see it over and over, right? We talk about touch points, especially in advertising and marketing. Usually it takes somewhere between 7 and 12 touch points of someone seeing something, whether it's an ad or a piece of copy or something like that, before they intend to even go and check it out and investigate whether or not it is for them. So we want to make sure that that voice is consistent across all of those places. For instance, a simple statement. Now, this is a simple one. I'm Jane, a UX designer, crafting digital experiences that keep people at the heart of every solution. Now, it's a little bit vague. I just kind of, we came up that, me and one of our other writers came up with that kind of on the fly, but it is quick, it's punchy, it's to the point. You have crafting digital experiences. Before that, you have the UX. You have UX. I'm doing digital experiences, so that's very specific. And then you have keeping people at the heart. So you have that value. I don't like to make things look very robotic. I like to keep people in it. So I do these digital experiences, but they're always based around people. So you can think about it like that. Another thing that creatives probably are not super strong at, reading things aloud. Okay. Once you've written something, read it out loud, because if it's not going to work and it doesn't sound like you and you don't like reading it, or it's hard to read, it's not right. I read through this whole thing out loud to make sure that it sounded like me, that I could read it and deliver it to you and also riff off of it. As you notice throughout this whole presentation, I'm not reading every single line one for one. Sometimes I am, but I can fill in the blanks in between what I've written out. If you're reading something and it's too hard to read or doesn't sound like you, then you need to go back and try again. All right, so number 4 is aligning messaging and your brand voice. So we've been developing this brand voice based off our personality traits and what's important to us. Now it's time to align actual messaging. We just created a brand statement, or hopefully at some point you're going to do that. And if you've been following along, I should have said this earlier. Feel free to pause at each point if you want to workshop each of those. So if you want to go back, pause, write down those personality traits, and you go to the next one, pause, write down a couple options for your personal brand statement. And then here, once we start getting into messaging, feel free to do that as we go. Or if you just want a quick crash course, you can watch this on like 1.5 or 2 times speed if you want, and then go back and do it on your own time. So your visuals may grab attention. Not trying to roast anybody, but we're going to talk about visuals in another section here. But let's say they probably do capture attention. It's your voice, whether it be you actually sitting down and filming content and or actually writing engaging captions. It's the voice that keeps people engaged. You can also think about this as story. So like I mentioned, Instagram captions, website copy, email newsletters, what have you. The brand voice should be an extension of your personality. I already said that at the beginning, reflecting your core values. Don't try to be disingenuous. People are going to know. They're going to know, especially if you're not an expert, it will stand out. So perhaps you have a word map. I don't know if you've seen those before, but they're essentially where you can go in, you can type in a bunch of words, and it will generate this kind of word cloud or this word map. Or perhaps you can create some columns of text and keywords that you'll pull into your messaging. Now, they all should reflect your personality, right? So if it doesn't feel or sound like you, again, try working on it until the copy matches what your personality is. So when we're talking about aligning messaging, anywhere anybody's going to read something or hear something. So if you're filming content, like you're going to be a content creator as well, and you're going to do reels or YouTube videos or a podcast, all that messaging has to align with you and what you do. So anywhere people are going to read or hear you, that's what we're talking about with messaging. So why this matters: an authentic voice fosters more genuine connection. Okay. It's more engaging. It's more real. It's just more genuine. So we want to build trust for your clients or for your customers. Like, you want to build that trust with them. Additionally, distinct and consistent voices help make you more memorable. Okay. Because everything, what you sounded like on Instagram is not different than YouTube, than on your website, than it is in your email. So that consistency makes it memorable, standing out in an ocean, a sea of generic or overly formal communication, or like I just mentioned, scattered, right, all over the place. I really wouldn't suggest giving ChatGPT some prompts and then just copying and pasting whatever it spits out, right? So you've listed out these keywords, like I mentioned in the previous slide. You say, hey, ChatGPT, I need some body copy for this, or I'm writing an email, or I'm writing some Instagram captions. Here's some keywords I'd like you to put into the text. It spits it out, and then you copy and paste it. 0% a fail. Do not do that. You need to edit it to sound like you. I'm not suggesting don't use ChatGPT. Sure, ChatGPT is great. We use it a lot, but you have to make it yours. And a lot of times it's going to miss or have some gaps in the thinking that you have to bring to your own copy or your own messaging or video. It can be helpful. You need to edit it. It needs to be in line with your brand voice. So some practical tips and steps for this. I think you should pick your tone, right? Are you friendly and conversational? I mean, hopefully everybody's friendly in conversation, but that actually can be like an archetype, right? I think it's called either the caregiver or the lover, the romantic, or whatever it is. Are you that? Are you friendly, inviting, conversational? Are you perhaps more polished, more technical? Are you luxurious, high end, right? Choose a tone that fits you. Approachable would be warm. Super light language. Elegant would be more of like bold single liners, ultimate class, whatever. You can think like Alfa Romeo or something like that. The second step would be to use real stories, sharing relevant anecdotes or personal experiences, probably both, with design projects can help reinforce your core values. So these are some buzzwords like dedicated, experimental, innovative. You can change those. These are kind of like super stock to help use with your experiences with your projects. And so you want to try to figure out like, okay, I am dedicated because, or I was experimenting with this because, or I believe this is innovative because here's a story where this fits in with this, right? So obviously these are like super technical buzzwords. You find the ones that fit for you. Then number 3 is staying consistent. Once you choose that voice, Apply it everywhere. Bios, emails, proposals, blogs. We already talked about this in a previous. We talked about this in a previous step already, right? But this messaging and this voice needs to also be applied. So you can take this in increments. You can have something that you're working with that's already existing, but then as you're working on your voice, make sure it all is consistent. Clients should feel the same vibe no matter where they read your words or hear you if you're going to be making content. Remember that you don't need it to be perfect here. Your writing skills don't have to be perfect. That's not the goal. You're not turning into a world-class writer unless you want to be, and that's your creative endeavor. Go for it. You just need to write as yourself and write purposefully. Okay, it's gonna sell way more than faking it or faking it until you make it. Then we get to 5 is now developing the brand story. Now, this may sound counterintuitive. You're like, wait, why didn't we start with the story first? Well, the story is a never ending volume. It's developing. That's why I have this little image here to be continued. We're developing our story. I put it here because now we have the backlog, we have the prerequisite knowledge to filter into our story. So that way everything is cohesive. Now, the brand story is the personal narrative. So it kind of has already been working this whole time. It's the why and the how of how you got here. You're sharing that story. It's humanizing your brand because that's what you want. This is the personal brand masterclass, not the corporate brand masterclass. And you're going to allow people to see the real person behind that polished looking portfolio. Now, I mean, you want a polished looking portfolio for getting work, but it should still be real. It should still be you. It should be interwoven with what you are, or who you are, I should say, not what you are, who you are, and your personality. So having a brand story creates that emotional engagement that everyone is looking for, especially in this digital age of AI. And everything like that. So your audience wants story. Stories are more memorable than plain facts or feature lists or service lists. Stories are easier to remember. They're easier on the ears, and they're much more relatable than a list of services, right? Caveat to that might be a menu or something where you're going to order your coffee or a hamburger or something. But I should say, even that, now I'll caveat that again in saying that some of the most exciting places I've been in the food industry, bars, coffee shops, or whatever, the menus I actually remember the most have stories. So, for example, there's a really great one out in Graham, North Carolina, where the bar actually has this story, the historical story for each drink that they serve. And it's actually a story, and you order the drink out of the story. Memorable. Why? Because I'm talking to you about it right now. So that's just a great way of brand story, brand messaging. That's what that bar cares about, is educating you on the history of cocktails. Therefore, it is super memorable. Now, why does this matter outside of the story I just gave you? If you're able to share your vulnerabilities, your challenges, your hurdles, things that you can overcome, you're going to appear more authentic, more relatable, more trustworthy. It just is. And I'm not saying that the goal is to just go out and appear authentic, relatable, and trustworthy. If it's literally, if you do X, Y will happen. So you want Y, but you have to do X to get it. Sharing your brand story allows people the opportunity to come along with you for the journey. I always say that if you want to join us for the journey, subscribe here on the YouTube channel, sign up to our email list, what have you, to follow the journey. Okay, Kittl is a developing tool. We look a lot different 2 years ago than we do now, and we're developing on this journey. And those that have come with us have got to see that. So if you want to do that, you're inviting people to just come and follow along as everything ebbs and flows as changes. So as opposed to feeling like you're attempting to sell something one time, a one-time transaction, you want to invite people to come along and grow with you. Personal brand with a strong brand story is set up for success for a lot of reasons, and the passion can be seen in everything you do. So there's this passion element that's closely related to this. I'm assuming, which is why you're probably watching this, you have a passion for what it is you're developing as a personal brand. So the quality of your service mirrors the passion, or at least it should. And each time a consumer, a customer, a client comes back for something, they know exactly what they're getting. They know the story they're signing up for. They already heard it once, and they're ready to hear it again. So let's talk about some practical steps. Identify some moments for you The key events that shaped your passion. Where did you fall into the passion? Was it something you knew exactly from childhood? Was it a childhood fascination? Was it something that you grew into in college? Was it a career switch? Did you move states? Did you move countries? What was it? Weave in your values after you have that all figured out. So connect the moments to the brand values because they're probably already similar and you already defined these back in the first step. So you want to attach them to those core memories and start developing this whole story. So show how they guide your decisions and your approach. Because of X and Y, it led me to Z, right? You're going to create sentences like that story. Then you're going to share it. You can do this. You can make vlogs. You can make an about me video. You can make an about me page. Every company has this. Every personal brand website has this, the about me, or I like to call it my story or our story. The goal is for people to know your story, where they discover it. So you want to share it on social media, build a community around that story. There's going to be others like you, or at least can get behind why you're doing it, and inspiring and aspiring other designers, creatives, artists, and the like. Number 6, set goals and track your progress. The journey to building what I think is a powerful personal brand requires a lot of measurable goals. Measurable is the key word here. It's the key in the goal setting. So by defining the clear objective, you will create this roadmap, this timeline, this set of to-dos of what success is going to look like. They can be extremely practical. They can be practical, like attaching it to a number. So reaching 1,000 followers, for example, on Instagram, YouTube, podcast listeners, they can be practical like that. Or perhaps it's something like landing 5 new clients. It doesn't have to be super granular. It can just be that, right? Landing 5 new clients. Or they can be extremely task oriented, like just posting something on your social media today. Like that's like, what can I do today? Now, it's tempting to confuse realistic goals with future expectations. Now, I'm not suggesting that future expectations also can't be goals. They definitely can. But a future expectation might actually be you want to make $100,000 in your freelance business this year. But a realistic goal would be the tasks that help you get to that, right? It's going to be really frustrating if you get to the end of the year and you don't make that 100,000 K because that was just the goal, right? And then everything else just became random to-dos and you never did anything. You never set any goals that it ultimately lead you to the expectation, the future expectation. I mentioned already, of course, a goal can be making a certain amount of money, but that would be your overarching desire, right? That'd be your overarching, I guess, key result. So you're going to ask yourself, what's the goal for today? What's the goal for this week? What's the goal for this month? It's like I said, I'm going to post 10 pieces of content this month. I'm going to get 3 new clients, 1 per month, or 3 new clients per month. Like that's much more achievable than my goal is to make $100,000, because you can do that a lot of ways. You can go sell cars and probably make that if you want. So you're going to have to think about what are the individual goals that help me get to my future expectation. All right. So the practical approach is super critical. So making goals provides you with focus. It provides you with direction. It helps you prioritize. Everybody, again, I already told you all get distracted. I get distracted. The goal setting, the to-do list, the writing it down, the crossing it off is good for you. So tracking progress will keep you motivated. And then when you complete a goal, a task, you get to celebrate a lot more often. So a great exercise you can do to help you visualize this is making a vision board. Creating a vision board can help you define your goals. It's also just a fun way to do it. You don't have to. This is not a suggestion that you have to do it, but it is fun. And then once you complete it, you can always go back a couple months later and see where you are on that journey. We have an excellent video on creating a vision board that you can check out here on the YouTube channel. We also have a blog about this, and we have a lot of templates on vision boards if you want to check those out in Kittl. And they have little places where you can go and drop in all of those little pieces. So it can be helpful for you. All right, let's talk about some practical steps. Now, this SMART goals acronym is not really new. It's I could have come up with something better. I could come up with a different word or a different synonym for each one of these, but I think it's fine. SMART goals. This is going to be easy for you to remember. So, SMART goals mean specific, measurable, Achievable, that's probably a super key heavy word for all of you. Relevant, and then time specific. So, and I know that's not really a good one for T, but I could have just put time, I guess. But yeah, time specific. So instead of I want more clients, aim for I want 3 web design clients in the next 2 months, right? I want more clients is not measurable or achievable because there's no destination, there's no dedication to it. It's just like, what would you like? More clients. Great. How many? Like what kind? Where are you going to get it? Right. So it needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable, achievable. 2 to 3 is achievable. 20 is not. Depending on if you're one person in one team, depends. Maybe you have that, but the capacity for 20 clients that are all going to pay the same exact thing for the same project, rare that you can do 20 at one time. So it needs to be relevant. Don't go looking for stuff that you don't need. Don't accept every single project. It needs to be time specific. When are you going to do it? Right. That's the 2 months. Then you're going to use some sort of analytics. I know this is like, it's like, oh gosh, tracking metrics. Oh, I know, I get it. But you need to figure out some way to track it. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be something. So you want to just track your traffic, your engagement, your conversions. Look at your website. A lot of these places like Squarespace, Wix, Framer, whatever, they have back-end analytics that you can just go look at it. I looked at mine yesterday just to see my traffic. I can see my bounce rate, which is when people click in and they click off. I can see when they're adding something to a cart, when they're abandoning cart. It's good to know. And I think that the social media platforms, to my understanding, also offer some pretty high-level insights. I think they're perhaps not as robust as I would like them to be personally for each individual one. Outside of YouTube, YouTube is an extremely intuitive, in-depth platform. So Instagram, maybe less so. TikTok, maybe less so. But you can still get an idea. That's the idea here for step 2, use analytics. You can get an idea of your audience insights. What that's going to do is allow you to see what content is performing, where it's reaching, what you maybe should do differently. It's all about making adjustments, which is number 3, is adjusting. So if you're not hitting those targets, tweak the strategy. Okay. If the targets are reach, like impressions, or if it's a like or a comment or a DM or an inquiry or a website lead form, maybe tweak the strategy to try to beef those up a little bit. Maybe the website needs a new layout to encourage visitors to stay longer. And there's a lot of different things you can do for that. We actually have 2 great videos where I interviewed 2 UX specialists. You can go check that out in our podcast playlist. It's down in the description. I'll link that for you to go check out as well. Now, just a quick reminder, at this point, you've developed a strategy to start sharing this story and gaining new work. So if you jumped ahead and you're like not really sure, you're like, wait a minute, we've already jumped to like tracking stuff. I don't even have anything set up. This is all numeric. This is all chronological. That's why I put it in steps like this. I put it in order like this. So you can do 1 through 5. And then once stuff is out in the world, 6 is for that, right? This is the practical steps for 6. After you've made those goals, the goals are there and things are out in the world, then you can start tracking, right? All right. Step number 7, the last step before we get into section 2, which is design. We're going to try to create a unique experience. Well, hopefully we're not going to try. We're going to do it. So your brand isn't just about visuals or tone. Sorry to break it to you, but it's every single interaction that someone has with you or with your work or with your digital experience. So it's not one or the other or the other. This includes everything from packaging, hence my beautiful Apple picture there. Apple has some of the best packaging unboxing experiences known to this world, I think. But it also includes email sign-offs, invoices, social posts, banners, everything. I'm sure at some point you've either unboxed an Apple product or you've watched someone unbox it. And like I said, they just have the best experience. Like it, for some reason, makes you want to keep the box, even though you don't really need it unless you're just waiting to turn it back into work, or if you're going to try to turn it in to get credit. I do that a lot of times. I will actually keep my MacBook box or my iPad one, because I want to turn it back in to get credit for the next one, the next upgrade. But a lot of people will put this in their background. I don't have one in my background right now, but a lot of people will put it in their background just because it looks nice, right? So think about ways that you can give your customers, clients, a unique experience like this, even if it's a digital one. I know that's a harder task. That's a harder to do, but you're creative and you can figure out how to do that. You could do that with email. You could do that with landing pages. You can do that with QR codes. You can figure out how to make a more unique experience. So this matters because it's tailoring the experience and creating this personalized touch point for your clients and your customers. It also helps you differentiate yourself from any competitors. It does create a super memorable experience, and it encourages people to stay engaged for longer, right? It gives them that brand loyalty. It gives them that consistency that says, I know I'm going to get this experience every single time, and it's great every single time. Plus, the thoughtful details do create more of an emotional connection. I kind of mentioned that bar that had the whole menu as kind of a story, created an emotional connection. Every time I go back, I know I'm going to get the same kind of experience, right? So you want that. You want to make clients feel valued. You want to build the strong relationships. It's definitely okay to have one-off projects where you say, okay, great, this is the transaction, have a good life, this was fun. But perhaps building and strengthening a relationship is actually going to help you get more work more often from the same people. So let's talk about some practical steps. So you can map out these touch points. You can list all the ways someone might interact with your personal brand. From the first contact, maybe that's on social media these days. Maybe it is your website. Maybe it's through paying for something. If they just found a product that they wanted, and they go and the first interaction is paying. So how are they invoiced? How are they using their credit card? What is it? To the final touch point, which might be an email or a landing page, or if it's a physical product, what they're going to unbox it, right? So then we need to think about branding. We're adding consistent colors, fonts. I know we're not in the design phase yet specifically. Well, I mean, I guess we've been in the design phase this whole time. I just meant I'm talking about design in the next section. But again, this unique experience is all about this. It's everything, right? So colors, fonts, short, friendly messages, all of it. It's all together. So you need to think about that as well. And then I want you to think about adding a personal note. This always makes the experience better, whether it's a digital one or a physical product. So something as simple as a handwritten thank you, and even if it's not going to be handwritten and someone's going to hold it, a short personalized email or landing page, it can create that memorable experience. All right, it's time for section 2, which is design. So like I said, if you need to pause and get some more coffee or tea, I know we've been going for about 40 minutes now. Feel free to do that. If you need to go change your laundry, you got any laundry in the washer, you need to change the dryer, you need to start the dishwasher, now's a good time to do that before you come back for section 2. All right, we're going to craft a memorable logo or avatar. Now, again, you may have already been doing some of this in all of phase 1, which is develop. It's okay. I'm talking about it now, and there's a lot more steps to the design process, but I want to take a second to talk about what this is. So the logo is going to be a core element of your brand identity. It is a key visual. It's a flag, so to speak, of who you are, whether it's a traditional design logo type, which is going to usually be type, or an avatar. An avatar would be something like what you see here, the McDonald's M, or it could be unique signature. A lot of personal brands use their signature because that's who they are, and so they want to use their signature. A lot of photographers use that, for example, as their signature. So you want to think about this, like I said, as a flag. It's a centerpiece, giving people a calling card, giving people a direction. It helps them instantly recognize who you are and say, like, oh, that's X, that's Y, that's your personal brand. Now, it's very important, though, that you understand that a brand is not a logo, and your logo is not your brand. Like that's not what that is, right? So the Nike logo is not Nike's brand. That's just their logo. That's just how you recognize them, okay? A logo is a great piece that fits within that brand identity, but it is not the core of your business. It should just reflect what the core of your business is. So it should just make sense. So that being said, I still want you to understand that it is an extremely important factor that a logo or avatar fits into your process. This matters because the logo should, again, align with your overall identity. This includes your brand voice, your traits, colors maybe. It's going to influence your website design, your social media. You're going to think about all the places that this avatar or this logo is going to sit, and they're going to align all together, creating a cohesive brand presence. When I say align them all together, you may have more iterations of a logo. You may have a sub logo. You may have a tertiary logo. You may have several logo lockups. You may have an avatar. You may have an illustration. You may have a flag. You may have all of these different things. You may have 3 colors, 2 colors, 4 colors. So over time, your logo and your avatar can change. And I think that's okay. Things refresh all the time. Think about how many brands you see rebrand, how many companies you see rebrand every year. However, just understand that the larger you become, the more items and places your logo is showing, the more expensive it becomes to change, right? Think about if Nike were to change their logo right now, that would cost probably $1 billion because it's on everything from packaging to the actual items of clothing that they sell to all of their digital footprint. That would cost probably $1 billion, millions for sure. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it would cost a lot of money because that check mark is everywhere. So let's talk about some practical steps. You can start by, if you don't have, this is if you don't have a logo or an avatar yet, by the way. If you do, feel free to skip forward in the video. But you can start by sketching some concepts. You don't have to be a master at drawing. It's okay. You can just get some pen and paper. It might be good for you to get off the computer for a second. And you can reflect on your core value, what your style is, what your specialty is. You can choose some playful design to emphasize what your core might be. Maybe it's approachable, maybe it's luxury, whatever it is. You can start to create intricate illustrations that might be specific, and then you can dumb them back down, or dumb down might not be the right word, but you can refine them and level them out so that they're recognizable. Which is step 2, refine and simplify. The most effective logos typically are going to be clean, versatile. Again, think about the check mark, think about the Apple logo, and adaptable to different formats. Now, we are talking about personal brands here, and so I do want to caveat this with this whole logo discussion kind of being over what the actual avatar or imagery is. Your personal brand perhaps is going to be just your signature as your logo type, and then perhaps you can have a playful illustration or an icon that's based off of that. But this is good for either of those options, just for you to understand. You just need to know that it's going to be used on something like a social media profile, but also printed materials. And those are probably going to look different at different sizes. So you need to think about scalability as well. After you have some concepts, whether you're going to do it yourself or you're going to use something like a Kittl to help you, or you're going to have a friend or perhaps hire someone to do it, or you can hire your friend. I'm sure they would appreciate that. You're going to gather some feedback, share those initial designs with trusted peers within a creative design community. Don't have 20 cooks in the kitchen. Just get a couple of impressions, figure out whether or not it aligns. You want to look for people saying like, I don't think that's you, man. Or like, I don't know. It just, the color is not, whatever it is, those are the kinds of things you want to hear, right? You want to make sure that it's true to you. You can collaborate if you need to. If your design is not super strong, and like I said, you haven't hired someone yet, consider working with a professional, or perhaps use templates like we have in Kittl. Just make sure that the final product is reflective of your personality and your values. Then, this is kind of an interesting, debatable topic here. You're going to choose a signature color palette. Can you thrive and survive without one and just use black and white? Sure. That's also a color palette, by the way, black and white. That's totally fine. But I think that it is good to think about color, because everything from psychology and theme to emotion really is encompassed in color. Like, think about how much color emphasizes action or emotion. So it's important to think about this, and you're going to try to create a cohesive brand identity by thinking about thoughtful brand colors. So you can curate this palette, ideally with a clear plan for how each color is going to represent or enhance your image. When I say image there, I just kind of mean who you are. Now, don't have a color palette with 8 colors in it. You don't need that. Like, I've seen so many brand books, brand identity books that have like 13 or something colors. When are you going to use all those? I'd say 4, like max out at 4 or 5. I think that's probably fine. Like, you're going to have your main color, and you're going to have a secondary color, and then perhaps you can have a couple of tertiary colors, maybe for highlights, stuff that stands out on your website, or little accent colors that are going to be in your social posts, or whatever it is. You don't need 8 to 13 colors. You don't need to do that. So for a strong and consistent brand identity, they should reflect your traits. So you're going to think about archetypes here. You can look up the color wheel. You can see different emotions for different colors. when you're choosing your brand colors, it's important to consider the emotional response you want to evoke in your audience. For example, red is a passionate color, but it's also an aggressive color. Orange is a very action-oriented, heroic color. Purple is a very ethereal, kind of fantasy-like color. Green is a very wise, but also kind of jealous color. Yellow is a very bright and inviting color. All of these kinds of black is usually luxury. So you want to think about all of these things when it comes to evoking emotion. Then you want to say, like, well, what color just aligns with me, with my values? Just literally ask yourself, what is your favorite color? Just think about it and decide whether or not that's a good color, or a variation or an iteration on that color might be good for you. The color palette is so powerful. It's going to influence the first impression, and it can help you stand out in a saturated market, or you're going to blend right in. And I really like Klarna. I like Afterpay, which is a more brighter blue, but Klarna has this bright pink, and it really does set them apart in the financial world. I was thinking about using a couple of different examples here to show you, but yeah, in a digital financial space, pink was such an interesting take. And immediately, like when I see that symbol, I'm like, ooh, nice, they have Klarna. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's necessarily because it's pink, but that was such an interesting, bold, disruptive choice. So additionally, your color palette should complement your entire visual image. It includes your logo, website, social media, icon, whatever. It should really complement all of that. Now, some practical steps. I already mentioned this. You're going to look into color psychology, learn the basics. You don't have to like buy a million books. I will link down in the description. It's called Drew's Book List, and there are some books on color there for you if you want to check that out. So it's called Drew's Book List. There's going to be some color theory books. If you're really heavy into it, it talks about also different kind of printing mechanisms for different colors. You can check that out, but you can learn what you need to learn online, or you can check out our Kittl videos. We have several. We have a whole playlist dedicated to color theory. We also have 7 individual lessons on our blog on color theory as well for you to check out. Like I said, reds and oranges are energizing. Greens are harmony, growth. Blue is very calming. I'm not saying don't use blues, but so many people use blue. I'm not saying don't use blue. Maybe just get interesting with how you use blue. Test different combinations. Leverage the free tool. Coolers is awesome. I love that. We also have our own color palette tool in Kittl for you to use as well. And then you're going to apply them. You're going to find the palette. It's going to be finalized. You're going to use it for a little bit. Maybe you can change it later, but go ahead and adapt it across everything: website, social, email, whatever it is. Over time, the cohesive use of the color is going to help you be established. Somebody sees that color mixed with that type, mixed with your brand voice, boom, they know it's you. Then we're going to master a visual style. Consistency in visuals is what makes your work recognizable. It really does. This includes how you edit your photos, the typeface that you're going to use, or multiple typefaces, the illustration style if you're into illustration or vector graphic design, even how you structure layout, how the typography is laid out, how your web page is laid out, how your email is laid out, everything. So whatever you thought about, it feeds into this consistency. Color, logo, avatar, images, more. It all needs to be consistent. You should ask yourself if all the touch points match, and if a consumer or a viewer will get the same experience across all of the platforms. That should kind of be one of your guiding rules or principles. So over time, this consistency, like everything else we've talked about, builds that familiarity, builds that memorability, builds that trust, and they're going to be able to spot you immediately. So imagine someone discovers you on Instagram. Boom. They go to try to find your website. But then the visuals there are completely different. Not only that, the brand voice is not quite as strong as it was on Instagram, or it just doesn't match at all. Your website looks like it was made with ChatGPT. The Instagram looks like you're actually taking some time to craft your captions and stuff like that. So the disconnect is confusing, it's frustrating. It's unlikely that consumer, that client, customer is going to come back. So you want to ensure that you can quickly maintain a sense of familiarity across the channels, and that is by mastering this visual style for you. I'm not saying you have to master what visual style is. I mean, I don't know what work you're doing. You can let me know in the comments, but you're going to master the visual style for yourself so that you can be consistent. It also presents you as being extremely intentional. Like, wow, this person took the time to make sure that this looks like this, okay, across all the platforms. So here's some practical steps. Decide on a small set of fonts, icons, image filters, whatever it is. Just decide. I'm not saying that you have to completely validate and verify that it will only and forever be this. Just decide on some, okay? Take some time, choose your typography meaningfully. That's probably one of the most important things, at least to us here at Kittl, is typography. So think about that, and think about the select set of icons that you're going to use, the image editing LUTs, the filters, whatever you're going to use. Think about it. Align how the profile pictures look, your cover images, your bios, your banners on your website, your LinkedIn banner, whatever it is. Align them. Use the same colors. Use the same fonts. That's going to take a little bit of extra time to figure out if the same font can be used for you, or do you perhaps need to purchase a font? Do you need to purchase the web font version, which is going to cost you a little bit more money? It just depends. Or are you finding some fonts on Google Fonts that can be used across everywhere? So you want to carry this visual identity and all over everywhere. Emails, business proposal, pitch decks, elements, business cards, ads, if you're going to run ads, all of it. Then I think it's good for you, especially if you're in the beginning stages, if you're a beginner, creating templates. I mean, we have tons of these on templates on Kittl you can use. But for social media, keep a few templates in the bank that you use, whether it's going to be for Instagram or LinkedIn, or if you're doing YouTube, just create a bank of some YouTube thumbnail templates so that everything looks like it is cohesive together. Now, some of this needs to be platform specific. I would kind of say that with YouTube thumbnails, I think some things can be templated, but YouTube's a very content specific platform, so I think it should look specific. But for Instagram and LinkedIn especially, you can keep some templates in the bank for you to use. Then you can document your style and create a simple style guide. I think this is important. Simple is a keyword here. You're not a corporate brand. You don't need a 30-page brand book right now. I think you just need a style guide outlining fonts, colors, and how your logo should be used. Because if you're going to work with someone else in the future, or if you're going to work with a printer, they need to have that kind of information. Then we are going to create a professional portfolio. When I say we're going to, maybe you've already done this. This is totally fine. You don't have to do this in order. These are just steps to help you. The portfolio is kind of a digital storefront. It showcased your best work. Keyword best. Not all of it. I don't want to log onto your portfolio and see 30 pieces of work. Maybe I can go dig for them if I want to, but I just want to see the best work. This is if I was looking for someone to work with. You can create your professional portfolio on a website. It can be hosted as a presentation, even if you don't have the money to host your own website. You could even use Google Slide. I've seen some actually pretty intuitive and nice Google Slide portfolios. Now, they're not the best and they're not as robust, but I've also seen some absolutely stunning Notion portfolios, and Notion is free to sign up and actually set a website live. So I would actually check out Notion as well. But you have your standard Behance, Dribbble, all that kind of stuff you could use as well. So you want to include some key information about your brand statement, your skills, examples, all this stuff. And then I would probably also include some case studies, even if they are passion projects, okay? And we can talk about what a case study is later or in a different video, but I would also think about that. So this portfolio is going to be crucial because you want to be recognized for the thing, okay? Is it branding? Is it illustration and digital design? Is it UX and web? Is it motion graphic? Is it writing? Is it art? Is it whatever? So pick a platform. I already mentioned Behance, Dribbble, Squarespace, Wix, WordPress, whatever you want to develop. The key is to choose one that suits how you are going to showcase your work. And also just easy for you. Just pick the one that works for you, okay? Don't get overwhelmed with this. You're just trying to get something out. So then you can curate your projects. Back to what I said best. Feature pieces that best reflect your identity and the kind of work that you want more of. Oh my gosh, that's such an important phrase. Write that down. Include relevant case studies. There it is, if possible, detailing your role and the challenge at your process. Now, if you don't have any yet, think back to perhaps something you did in school. Think back to a passion project that you may have completed. If you don't have one, work on one. I think it's always important to work on a passion project of some sort and walk someone through the case study. What were the challenges? What was the brief that you gave yourself? What were the challenges that you faced? What were the solutions? What did you do to finish it? And then highlight all that beautiful visual work to show off the finished product. Then approach it like the viewer, the customer, the consumer. So make sure that this user experience is going to be clean. It's going to be intuitive. We want people to be able to find it. We want people to be able to understand it. You also want to reflect the quality of the work of your actual work. Okay, so you want the case study or you want the portfolio to reflect what you actually do. Hence, don't fake it till you make it. Don't put stuff up that you didn't do. That's terrible. But also, don't put up stuff that you don't want to do. I think that's the better idea. Then update it, please. Oh my gosh, update it. I don't know how many portfolios I see that still say, 2021, 2022, even at this point, 2023. I mean, at the time of this video, we're in 2025. Update the portfolio. Okay. Don't let the portfolio become cluttered with a bunch of outdated projects. Don't send somebody an old link. Keep it fresh. Okay. You want to keep it fresh with more stuff. And then we're going to get to some more technical things within this kind of design oriented section, which is listing out services. So I don't think people should have to guess what you do or have to reach out to you for more information. Okay. Potential clients often have specific needs and wants, and they want to be able to quickly see if you're able to meet those needs and wants. So just clearly list out the service. I don't want to make this step any more complicated than it is. You just want to make sure that it's listed out across the platforms where it makes most sense, as well as a landing page. That way, when a client finds it, they can go to the exact service, for example, logo design, or perhaps it's brand identity, or even more nuanced, brand identity refresh. It's like, I specialize in refreshing brands to be more who they are, or whatever. They're more likely to move forward without hesitation. If they can't quickly find the information, this is the biggest failure of all of it, because they're confused. Okay. So they may become frustrated. They're going to lose interest. You lose the business. Pay close attention to this user experience. Use this page performance metric thing that I talked about earlier in the analytics, right? What's the bounce rate? How far did they get to the page? What links did they click on your website, perhaps, or what posts did they click on your social media? Monitor that, like it's right. It says bouncing when looking for this service information. So some practical steps. You can categorize your services. Actually, you can break them down from logo design, social media template, brand consulting. Now, all of those do kind of all encompassing someone who's going to be doing branding, but perhaps you are just niche into logo design, and then there is a subset of services under just logo design that you do. Then number two, you're going to be extremely transparent. You're going to have standard rating or pricing. I'm not saying you have to give it away immediately, and you can list these out as starting prices. Now, we're talking about personal branding right now. We're not talking about a design studio or creative studio. A lot of influential personal brands that I look up to in the design space, they actually do have their starting rate for packages. Now, starting is the more important word. I should probably change standard to say starting, because a project can certainly have a range, and also depending on the clientele that comes to you, may be, for example, let's just say something like a Nike versus something like a small mom and pop shop. Well, I believe that you should charge the Nike-esque company for more than you would the small and pop shop, especially if you're starting out, because the risks are much higher for Nike than it is for the smaller mom and pop shop. And we can talk about that a little bit more in a future video. Let me know if you want that down in the comments. But this does help you weed out any mismatched expectations. Now, you can forego listing this out on your website and just say discovery, and you can have like a discovery call for whatever kind of creative services you offer, and you can just mention it that way. But you usually do have some sort of starting price range in your head. Then you can utilize multiple platforms. You can have your own website, like I said. You can list out all of the services on something like a Fiverr and Upwork. This is going to be, maybe if you're not going the hard content creator route on social media, there's a lot of ways to do this. Contra is another one that I forgot to add to this specific list. Behance, I also know I have gotten sales from Behance as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. Now, like I said, if you're going to chase a ton of rabbits, you're probably not going to get one of them because you're chasing all at the same time. So pick one and really make sure it's clear cut, and then move on to the next one. Then step 13 is moving on to marketing. We're going to create some brand marketing assets with what you've developed and designed so far. So creating the marketing assets for yourself not only showcases your skills, but it's communicating expertise. And the key here is ensuring that each marketing asset, each piece, each graphic is on brand, essentially. The messaging and the value is right to you. Then you can share them across social platforms, where appropriate, if appropriate. Okay, one thing that works on LinkedIn maybe doesn't work on Instagram, maybe doesn't work on your website, where appropriate. And then bring physical copies of these things to your events. Now, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about business cards, flyers, handouts, menu services, things with QR codes on them, all that kind of stuff. So you're going to have the digital and the physical. Please don't forego the physical. Just in-person networking, which is our last section we're going to talk about. Don't necessarily think that you have to go into this with only digital intentions, okay? Professionally designed materials are a powerful way to show that you're organized, intentional, and ready to engage. We need this, okay, as creatives. I'm talking to you again and me. Organized, intentional. Intentional is usually a little bit easier for us because we're very emotional as creatives and we want to be intentional, but the organized and intentional have to come together. And then ready to engage. That's another kind of struggle. We need to be ready. We need to be on it, ready to engage with clients and or collaborators. And we can do this by having our marketing assets, our handouts, our media kits, our whatever it is. Okay. You can assess your personal brand. What unique value proposition do you have? What is it that you do best? Use these and shape the messaging and the tone so that way you can you can match this across all of the marketing assets. Then you can list those offerings, outlining services, skills, pricing, bundles, whatever it is. Be specific, transparent, make it easy for the potential clients to understand what you offer. And they should be able to do that across all of the marketing assets. Then we get into a very specific, this is its own step, but it's kind of a substep of number 13. It is, but number 14, I am going to talk about it because I think it's a hot topic, is creating memorable business cards. Now, a lot of people think business cards are dead. And I have my own thoughts and feelings and opinions on it, and I'll share a little bit of that. I do believe that even in this digital time, this digital era, a business card is still powerful. And I'll give you some examples why. Because this tactile representation of your brand is so strong, especially, like I said, in this age of AI. You can bring these things to, I've said, networking events. Networking events is such a broad thing. So the networking events help you expand reach. They get your name out there. Networking events for me, for example, are pop-up markets. And I have handed out hundreds of business cards. And I have definitely got inquiries from handing out my business card and someone visiting or following me on Instagram or sending me an email for a commission. 0% chance that business cards don't work because I am absolutely the proof, as well as many other people I know. So don't think that in this digital time, business cards are a waste. Don't print 50,000 of them, but print 100 of them. You know what I mean? There are many different forms of business cards right now. There's this cardstock, recycled material, square, circle formats. There's digital QR code ones that are on like little things. I don't know. So in it, those QR codes kind of send you to whatever portfolio if you want, but it's still like it's still the tactile physical thing, right? The point is to have something you can leave with your connection, whether you've met them somewhere or you met them out on a street or at a market or anywhere else. The business cards showcase at a high level of professionalism. And at the end of the day, it really does. I mean, it shows that you have more things together and you also just technically have more things to offer. So it provides easy accessibility for the potential client to immediately get to you, right? You can even look into leaving them at a store, office, coffee shops typically are always open to letting creatives do this if they align kind of with what that coffee shop is, valuing. And you can have that as a passive marketing tactic. Somebody will see your little business card. Now, if you walk into a shop and you see 50 other business cards, it's not worth your price in printing to leave yours there because it's getting lost in a sea of other business cards. So don't do that. Look for very localized and specific, and maybe you need to pay a little bit to let you leave it there or something. I don't know, but it'll be worth the cup of coffee you have to buy if they let you leave a couple business cards there. All right, so some practical tips for this. You're going to design this with consistency. So the business card should not look different to your website than it does your email to whatever. It should be consistent. It should have your logo or your signature or whatever on it. Color palette should be in line with what you're using, and it should use the same typography. We don't want to confuse that viewer. Again, we don't want to confuse that consumer across all the touch points, right? Keep it simple though. Like I've seen some outrageous business cards, I think, over the last year and a half. And I don't know what I'm looking at. Like when I see there's this need, I think, for creatives to create a very visually enticing thing. A business card, I really don't believe needs to be such a visually enticing thing, it should be simple. List the essential information. What is your name? What do you do? Maybe you have a tagline. I don't know. Put your social media handle on there, and then just that's what it is. Your email, like done. Like it is. It's nice, and it has the things on it that you do. I personally have my logo and my name on one side, and then on the other side, I just have my list of services, my email, my social, done. And I think I only do my Instagram. So I just want to give them a few things. If I overwhelm them with a million things, then they don't know where to look. And then please don't skimp on the quality of the print. So I would try to forego spending hours and hours and hours on an extremely intense, visually enticing thing, and forego the time and spend the money on a quality piece of parchment. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. I would just have something sturdy. Don't print out a bunch of pieces of paper. All right. If you need to grab another cup of coffee, or maybe at this point, maybe you need to grab some water or use the potty, that is also fine. Give yourself a little pause, give yourself a little break. I certainly need a break to take a sip of this, and then we will come back for the last section, which is networking. Step 15, we're going to leverage social media. Bum, bum, bum. No, just kidding. So social media is strong. It's not going anywhere, unfortunately. Apparently, several of them have tried to go somewhere, and they're all still here. And there will probably be more of them. Creating a presence on the right social media channel exposes you to new audiences, and it can and it cannot. Obviously, there's a right way to do it and a not good way to do it. But it does give you more exposure to a new audience, and that means more potential clients, more potential collaborations as well. I think you should be selective and strategic with where you're going to dedicate your attention. I said this earlier. If you chase 10 rabbits at the same time, you will catch none of them because there is one of you, right? So I think that's a good way to think about it. While each individual platform has its strengths and its weaknesses, try to find the one that you're going to invest most heavily in. I don't think this is a bad piece of advice. I mean, I know there's a lot of gurus that say you need to be on everything. That's fine. I'm not on everything, and I make sales and get clients because I focus really heavily on one thing. It's fine advice to be everywhere if you want, but I think you should invest most heavily in one, especially if you're getting started, where your potential followership might be. So you need to think about this in terms of age range as well. I focus most of my attention on Instagram and YouTube. YouTube is an all-encompassing age range, but TikTok is not. X or formerly Twitter now, I think, is actually older. And then Facebook's probably an even older audience than that. So you need to think about that as well, where your potential clientele might be hanging out. Social media platforms, they do increase your visibility. And just to give you some encouragement, please don't feel discouraged when you post a reel or you post something and it gets 100 views, 30 likes or something like that. Because if you walked into a room right now full of 100 people in your house, you would be extremely overwhelmed. So that's a lot of people, actually. 100 eyeballs on or I guess it'd be 200 eyeballs on your content. Actually, already a lot. So I think there's this misconception that suggests you must have tens of thousands of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers to make sales. And it is untrue. It is further from the truth. I have made many sales from having roughly between 7 and 12,000 followers over the course of the last 5 years. So yeah, you can definitely do it as long as you're being genuine and you're reaching your potential audience with what you're doing. Do not be discouraged. I just want to say that to anyone who might be in that predicament right now. Just keep doing it. Every portfolio site, every website, everything right now that I know of asks you for social media links. It's the day and age that we're in, and it's all but assumed that you've got a social media platform because your customers and your clients or your followers are going to be on there. So pick one if you haven't already. You probably have. If you're watching this video, and especially if you've made it this far in the video, you definitely have, and probably multiple. Now I'm telling you, you should invest in one strongly and then decide if you need to add other channels. That's step one, right? Pick your platform, identify where your audience hangs out. We already talked about that. Number two, this is the more important one, I guess, is sharing consistently. You want to post those behind the scenes. You want to perhaps post some client or customer testimonials. Just do it tastefully and don't do it too often. Maybe you want to offer tips or content about what you do. Just be consistent and make sure you have a couple of range of contents. We've done a couple of talks about what the different kind of marketing buckets are for social media, and you can go check out those videos, or we can do more in depth if you want that. And then you're going to try to collaborate and cross promote. So try to connect with other peers, get on a guest post perhaps, maybe guest blog, partnership, introduce yourself. Don't underestimate how nice the creative space is. Don't feel like you can't DM people or comment on a post or start to collaborate and do things. Try that and just be genuine about it. And I think it'll work for you. And then, of course, like I said, stay authentic. Don't let social media be, something that you did reflect who you actually are. Okay. Show your real self. If something fails, show it. It's okay. Share your lessons learned. Again, I think genuineness or being genuine is the key here. All right. So 16 is kind of caveat off of that is networking with professionals. Now there's multiple ways to do this. Social media, we've already kind of talked about. Also, I put Zoom, a Zoom screenshot here intentionally because a lot of networking can be done digitally now. There's so many conferences now that are actually held online. There was not so long ago where a conference would only ever be physical, and now you can join a conference online. I mean, you're even watching this class online, whereas in the old days, you'd have to have gone and sit in person, maybe even flown and stayed in a hotel. So whether online or in person, networking builds connections. Obviously, that's what networking is. But it's not just about collecting other people's business cards or just adding people to LinkedIn, because that doesn't really mean anything. You want to look at it as an opportunity to learn from other people and try to expose your brand as well. So what can people learn from you? So the emphasis is on genuine. This class should just been called the genuine class. People will be able to tell if you're not well intentioned. I don't know how many times I said that. So don't try to connect with every single person in a variety of industries and mediums. Hence, don't go on LinkedIn, go to the networking page and just go connect. You don't know those people and you don't know what industry they're in because you didn't take the time to go and look and see if they'd even be a meaningful connection. So don't do that. That's not the best use of your time. It's not the best use of their time. But there is incredible power in surrounding yourself with a strong network of relevant professionals. This will open up more opportunities, but also ideas. So even if you don't necessarily get work from this, you may get more ideas for how to market yourself, for the content that you make, for a strategic piece that you add to your website. This may lead to more breakthroughs. I call them the breakthroughs, those aha moments that help you get more work. Also, having a super robust network can help send projects and opportunities your way. So the stronger connection you build with someone else, they may say, hey, I don't actually have time for this, but let me send you over to John or Mary or whoever. You could get work that way. So here's some practical steps for you. Attend local meetups. I say local design meetups here. This is kind of more centric towards a design creative space, but creativity is such a wide range. You can put whatever. Attend local X meetups, conferences, workshops, digital or physical. Like I said, even virtual events or webinars can help you connect. I've done several where I've actually been put into a meeting room with other like-minded people that were wanting to learn more about what I was learning about. And so we all discussed in a meeting room in that same conference. It's actually really neat. So that kind of stuff makes sense and does exist. So join online communities. There are Slacks or Discords you can join. We have one as well. We have a Discord server you can check out in the description. LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups. There's all these gold mines. You can go in and connect with people, and you never know who you might talk to can throw you some work. And then obviously you want to be visible. I would say if you are going to network in person, you can wear something that it is reflective of you. Again, don't try to be fake here. Okay. Talk about your specialty when you're there. Follow up with people afterwards. I mean, like, I'm not suggesting you have to go to every event in a suit and a tie, but I am saying, like, look the part is, I think, the most. I should just rephrase that one to say look the part. The real networking is not sprinting. Okay. That's what I said. Don't go to LinkedIn and go boop, 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 boop. It's not going to work. Okay. It's a marathon, meaningful conversations, meaningful meetups, smaller collaborations, lots of shared interests. It's going to take a lot of time. Hence bringing us to number 17, collaborate with other creatives. So collaboration is a fast way to expand your audience. Why? The other person has an audience. You have an audience. You put it together, you have double audience. Okay. When you team up with brands or a professional, you can both benefit. You get insights from both. Okay. This sounds daunting at first, especially if you have no following. Understand, been there. Keep in mind that it's okay for you to reach out to smaller, like-minded creatives and or businesses. You never know how they're going to respond unless you actually reach out. To a degree, there is strength in numbers, as the saying goes. Okay, so just think about what you could work on and just pitch that idea. Like, hey, I see you do this, I do this. We should do this. I don't know. We should do this passion project, or we should do this collaborative post on this topic, or whatever it is. Collaboration shows a variety of skills to your potential clients. First and foremost, I think, is probably being a team player. It means you're able to work well with multiple people that are invested in the same project. It's also an excellent way to increase your exposure, like I mentioned already, to the market that you want to target to. So pick like-minded partners. I put you a nice business keyword buzzword in here. Look for synergy. Okay. For all of you synergy lovers, go ahead and sound off in the comments. Look for synergy in the values. For instance, if you're a branding expert, find maybe a copywriter whose audience is also in need or interested in that. So there's everything from brand copywriters now. I actually just interviewed someone for our podcast who is a copywriter, head of copy at How and How, an amazing branding design studio. So look for people like that. Plan a project. I just mentioned that. Plan a joint webinar, plan a co-hosted post, plan a live, whatever it is. Go live on YouTube together, do a podcast. Share this process, document the collaboration, share it in your story, share it in an email newsletter, share it with your friends and family. People love to see this kind of stuff. They love the more personable in-person experience. Again, there's so much AI. There's so many faceless channels on YouTube. If you can show them the real thing, it's going to be a lot more engaging. Also, keep an eye out for creators who host live stuff. Okay, this is really good. Live courses, live sessions, offer to be a guest. Again, if you don't know if you don't ask. So your expertise could bring something fresh. It could bring something new, a different perspective. And of course, you'll gain that exposure you're so longing after. We're coming to the end here. Let me know in the comments how you're doing so far. Let me know if you've hung with me all the way to this, or if you're planning to come back and finish it later. Let me know how you're doing with this kind of long form content. So we're coming to the end here, though. I promise we're almost done. Number 18, once you get some work under your belt, you're going to ask past clients for testimonials. So word of mouth, despite this ever increasing digital age, is still the most powerful marketing tactics. Two of my highest paying clients of all time were word of mouth. They did not come from inquiry on my website, and they did not come from a DM on my Instagram. They came from a mutual connection of a mutual connection that needed something very similar. One came from mutual connection plus finding me on Google through my website, and they did not have anything to do with my funny social post. So word of mouth is still extremely powerful. Testimonials hold this value. I mean, think about how many brands and companies you see do this, even on Instagram and TikTok. They're all going to be like, say, change my life, blah, blah, blah. It's amazing. 5 stars, whatever. It's all over the place. Okay. Here's some stats for you. I don't know if they're interesting or not to you, but they are some stats. We have a blog on this exact masterclass over with the links to these if you want to go check them out. Interesting that 72% of the consumers, so the customers, say that the positive testimonial increases their trust in a business. I would say that that's probably true. I think that 72% of them probably also go ahead and buy something. I know I do. When I go to Amazon, even, I'm going straight to the reviews. Like, I'm going to see how many reviews there are, and I'm going to see what the rating is for sure before I buy something. 70% of people trust reviews and recommendations from strangers, like literally in a coffee shop. Like, someone has something, and then you say, "Oh my gosh, that's cool. Where'd you get it?" Boom. They're going to give you some sort of testimonial, complete stranger, and you're going to be like, "You know what? He's right. That makes sense." You don't even know them. 90% of B2B customers cited testimonials and peer recommendations as the most reliable type of content. That's pretty wild, but it also makes sense, right? Because it's like a real thing. It's a real review. So you can leverage this strategy by collecting endorsements from clients or collaborators. It doesn't have to be a past client. It could be someone you worked with, and it can showcase your reliability. You can showcase them wherever your potential clients may see them: website, socials, emails, whatever, just wherever it makes sense for you. All right. So how are you going to do this? Request the feedback. Okay. I give you the permission to do that. Ask the client for a testimonial after the client after the project is done, and things are going well and they're pleased. Send them a short polite email or a message, however you were working with them, and ask them for their thoughts on working with you. I go the extra mile and I ask them for a review on my Google My Business, because I can just copy and paste whatever I need from there wherever else I want, because the Google My Business is going to be the first and foremost, most powerful thing, I would say. You can guide them in this. All right. To make this request easy, you can offer them prompts. It could be a series of questions. It could be a problem and answer type solution. And you can just say, like, what was the impact on your business? You can ask them 3 simple questions. You could give them bullet points to fill in, or yeah, you could just prompt them with, like, could you comment on X and Y? And then you're going to showcase it, feature the testimonies on your website, portfolio, contact page, LinkedIn, everywhere. Please don't be shy about this. Okay. People are generally happy to endorse the work that they're generally uh, happy with and appreciate. So, I mean, obviously, if a client just went to absolute poo poo and that client doesn't want to talk to you again, don't ask them for a review or a testimonial. Hopefully, that doesn't happen to you, by the way. That would be terrible. If clients are having a great experience and they liked the work you did, then ask them for a review. Like, it's okay. You can do that. Coming to the end here, consistently invest in yourself. Some of you need to hear this as well. Investing in yourself is investing in whatever business opportunity that you're doing, right? So this means staying updated. I put design trends here. I know design trends in itself is a buzzword and it's debatable. I just mean what's happening right now and what's glowing up, I guess. Learning new tools if needed. Okay. Don't learn new tools if you don't need to, but you do also want to stay up on the trends of the tools, right? So there's going to be new features. We're adding new features to Kittl all the time, for example. And then take care of your physical and your mental well-being. Like, you can't work if you're not feeling well, right? So you got to do that as well. So this can look like investing in tools and gear, depending on what kind of stuff you do. For example, here at Kittl, we run lots of production. We have microphones, we have lights, we have cameras. So we're going to invest in more gear. We're going to invest in more background stuff, invest in this space so that I can provide more interesting and professional content to you all. So what does that look like for you? Are there subscriptions you can have that make work easier? Are there subscriptions you can have that help you cancel other subscriptions? Do you need to hire someone? Do you need to hire an assistant? Are you that far in your personal brand business where you need the assistant to take care of the to-dos or to help you stay on track, for example, complete projects? Maybe it's purchasing another online course. We talked about that earlier. Maybe it's an online course to help you with marketing. Maybe it's an online course to help you get even better at your design niche. Whatever it is, you need to invest in yourself and try to earmark a specific budget for that, right? A specific amount that you can spend on yourself either per month or per year. So the better your skills are and the better your mindset, the better you feel, the better results you will deliver. It's a pretty easy equation there. Plus, if you're constantly innovating and taking care of yourself, you can avoid burnout a lot easier. Now, you do have to kind of factor some breaks in there. That's really important. That's what constantly taking care of yourself means. I already mentioned this: ongoing education. Set aside time each month to learn something if you can, or maybe it's a quarter. Skillshare is great. Udemy is also awesome. Upgrade your tool. Look, if your laptop sucks, please get a new laptop. Now, I don't control your bank account, and obviously you want to try to get the best deal possible. Maybe you can you can have trade-in credit for what you are right now. But I was actually just talking with a friend of mine 2 days ago that just upgraded for the first time in 7 years. The amount of work he was able to get done in one day from pages loading faster made, I think, probably at least the last several months look like nothing. So it's really going to be difficult for you, just such as life, to do something with a really, really old piece of tech if that is what you're going to be doing. Don't go open a bunch of credit cards if that's not something that you can handle. Look for really nice refurbished equipment. It's out there. You can find it if you look hard enough. Consider investing in an upgrade. It's gonna pay off. Okay, we do this consistently every year. Have a self-care routine, man. I don't know who else needs to hear that, but just go outside and touch some grass or something. I don't know. Like, don't sit here for 9 to 11 hours a day and then just think that you don't have enough money. I mean, maybe you don't. Everybody can use more, I'm sure, but there's always more ways to make money. And you need to think about that. You need to think about what's more worth it. So you need to also have this routine. You need to take care of yourself. You need to go take a walk. You need to take regular breaks. If you can get ergonomic equipment, like this desk raises and lowers so I can stand. I have lumbar support on this chair. We as creatives sit a lot. You need to invest in some of this stuff. Yeah, definitely short daily walks. I mean, that's a must. Okay. Drink a smoothie, maybe. Yeah. Eat some kale, something. So when you invest in yourself, your work will naturally improve. It's obviously an easy equation there. The improvement improves your brand. Okay. Your improvement improves your personal brand. So here we go. The last one, this is for everybody. Celebrate your success. And other things that creatives don't really do. We have a tendency to kind of just move on to the next project, right? We're done with that. All right. What's next? All right. That client was good. Oh my gosh, I need 4 more clients. Okay. And we never celebrate anything. We never make a bag of popcorn and watch a movie. We never go out and have a cocktail. We don't, I mean, I'm not saying never. We do sometimes. But like generally, if you're talking about yourself and your business, I don't usually text, I just finished 20 design projects. We should celebrate. Like it never happens. So anyway, don't shy away from sharing your wins, even the small ones. Okay. Even finishing tasks to help you further your goal. Okay. Celebrating can feed your mood, helps keep you motivated. It also show your audience that you're growing, like share it with them. Okay. Especially if you have a social media following, if you're inspiring and aspiring, like share the success stories that can help inspire others. Okay. That demonstrates this impact. So share the milestones. Okay. Post about it, post about landing a dream client, post about finishing a project, whether it's a passion project or otherwise. Thank everyone that helped you. Okay. So once you get done with something, whether it was collaborative, whether it was with a client, post gratitude. All right. Maybe it's an email that you just need to take some time and thank everyone that's helped you in the process, everybody that's been supporting you back home or whatever it is. Offer gratitude. And then, of course, stay humble. Like you need to celebrate, but don't suggest that you're ever done. Okay. There's always more to learn. There's always another level to go, right? You level up in the video game. So keep setting new goals, refining the skills, push the brownies, right? Your journey is worth celebrating. So every milestone is a testament. Okay. Every milestone is important, I should say. It's a testament to your growth, to your passion. It means your passion is important and makes sense, and your perseverance. So share the wins, honor your hard work, and serve as a source of inspiration for others. That could not be more well stated, really. Okay. Share, honor, and serve. You can do those things. And I think if you do that encompassed with everything else, you will begin to, if you haven't already, or if you already have, bolstered this personal brand into something really unique and really beautiful for you. And with that, we have reached the end of this free webinar masterclass on personal branding. And I want to invite you, if you all have not already, like I said, join the Discord. You can do that by going down the description. It says join the Discord right here. We have lots of different channels with a lot of different creators doing a lot of different really cool things that might be really helpful for you. If you don't know what Kittl is or who I am or what we do here, Kittl is actually a design tool. We have a lot of creatives using Kittl, and you can do everything from collaborating with someone. You can invite people to collaborate on a project with you, to simply making your creations for one project or many projects, having a whole brand, whatever you want in there. I would also invite you to use and sign up for Kittl if you haven't already. Now, there's a lot of different design tools, and a lot of creatives like to factor many in at the same time. And I think we have a lot of tools that help into that workflow, that ecosystem of design. Kittl fits right in. So if you haven't, you can use that link down in the description. I also have a promo code down for you if you decide that it is something you want to move forward with. Feel free to do that. Now, I want to know what your thoughts are on personal branding. Did I miss some things? Are there more steps that you want to see? Is there something in your journey or your development that you thought was more important or most important? Comment that down below so that I can see it. Also, any other questions or any other concerns or other type of content that you want to see here on the channel. And while you're down there, please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. It helps us put more content out just like this for you all. Thank you so much for getting to the end of the video with us here. I appreciate it, and we will see you in the next video.